easy. I'm easy nights and mornings.
Cat in the Hat is a good movie. No, not good. Great. The Cat in the Hat is a great movie. Bo Welch directed this film. He's mostly known for being a production designer on movies like Batman Returns, Edward Scissorhands, the Men in Black series, and Thor, to name a few. This was Welch's directorial debut, and critics hated this movie. Dr. Seuss's widow hated it so much that she refused to let them make more live-action movies. Every Dr. Seuss movie has been animated since this movie. But honestly, I don't see why. This movie isn't just underappreciated, it's disrespected. And I'm gonna tell you why. First, let's talk about some of the flaws of the movie and why critics have issue with it. Number 1. It isn't faithful to the source material. Now, I find this point to be a little hypocritical. People like Guardians of the Galaxy, but they change a lot from the comics. In the comics, Peter Quill is supposed to have telepathic abilities, being half celestial. In the movies, we don't really see this. Ego also isn't Peter's father in the comics. So if people have issue with faithfulness to the source material, why does Guardians of the Galaxy 2 have an 86 average between critics and audience score?
Alright, well that makes you a fucking criticizer too.
Number 2. The movie isn't really made for kids. This seems to be the biggest complaint that people have with the movie. And in truth, this is probably the most valid criticism of the movie. When compared to later movies like Horton Hears a Who and The Lorax, it is clear that The Cat in the Hat tried to cater more to the adult audience. But as an adult, I can't say I really have an issue with it. The books are super short, so making a whole movie out of it is already a kind of far-fetched idea. I mean, the whole premise of the book is that this 6-foot-tall cat comes, wrecks the house, then cleans it up. I could make you a 10-minute short video and pretty much cover the whole book cover to cover. So while the criticism that the movie isn't really made for kids is valid, I would also make the argument that it is a kids movie, but with adult humor. So we've gone into the 2 primary reasons people cite for why the movie is bad, so let's shine a light on what makes the movie good. Number 1. The cinematography. People may have their complaints about the movie, but on a technical level, this is a well-made movie. The movie is shot extremely well. The camera actually moves, and the opening scene alone has more creative shots than your typical MCU movie. Compare shots like this to this. In a lot of movies, the camera is pretty static. You get your typical boring camera A, camera B, medium shots. Not in this movie. This movie is shot beautifully, and it comes as no surprise because the cinematographer for this movie is Emmanuel Lubezki. You may recognize some of the other films he's worked on, movies like Gravity, Birdman, and The Revenant. Fun fact, these all won Oscars for Best Cinematography. Number 2. Practical effects and set design. The cool thing about this movie is that they actually built the houses that you see in the movie. The scenes in the town were shot in Pomona, California. Each hat actually did the function that you saw in the movie. The CD player hat had the CD player. The tennis ball hat actually had tennis balls in it. During the Mother of Messes scene, there is CGI, but the wind was real wind generated by fans to simulate tornado conditions. The aesthetic of the movie is unique, and the environment does have a color palette that fits a Dr. Seuss movie. And I have to talk about that car. They built a real working car for the super luxurious omnidirectional whatchamajigger for $1.2 million. It was powered by an electric motor with speeds up to 47 miles per hour. The car was operated by a driver hidden behind the front seat using a monitor with a feed that came from a camera on the rear view mirror. Another technician would alert the driver of things outside the camera's field of vision. The car is on display at the Volo Auto Museum in Volo, Illinois. Number 3. The plot isn't as bad as you think. Let's remember the premise of this book. A cat destroys the house and then fixes it. That's a short movie, guys. So the writers did take some creative liberty in crafting the plot. Speaking of the writers, the screenplay was done by Alec Berg, David Mandel, and Jeff Schaefer, who worked on shows like Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm.
You didn't thank him for his service, asshole.
They thanked him. 3 people thanked him. Why do I have to thank him?
Fuck, how hard would it have been? Thank you for your service.
Does everybody have to thank him for his
Yes.
service?
Now you've ruined everything, Larry. I'm making all this delicious salmon, and the whole night is ruined.
Jeff Schaefer helped create Lil Dicky's show Dave and created his own show with his wife called The League. Alec Berg helped create the Emmy-nominated series Barry with Bill Hader. Speaking of Bill Hader, he happened to be the one on SNL to play the Cat in the Hat.
Hello, little kitties. A rat-a-tat-tat. If you haven't put it together, I'm the Cat in the Hat.
Cat, what are you doing here?
Linda.
So they hired some legitimately good writers to do the screenplay for the movie, and for the most part it works. They spin the main premise of the book by having the cat promise that they can have all the fun they want and nothing bad will happen. And truthfully, the movie is surprisingly cohesive. We established pretty early on that Conrad is a troublemaker and Sally is a control freak. Throughout the movie, we see the relationship between the characters change and their personalities change too. At the end of the movie, Conrad takes a big leap with his character and is willing to take the blame for the mess. Compare that to this scene from the beginning of the movie. Earlier in the movie, we found out that Sally's control freak tendencies made her cut off her friendship with Denise. Later in the movie, she sees that she wasn't invited to Denise's birthday party. Alec Baldwin is in the movie as one of the main antagonists. He basically wants to get with Conrad and Sally's mom, and send Conrad to military school. Part of the plot revolves around them trying to get the dog back from him, but overall the plot is fine. This is a kids movie, and I don't think kids want to watch an hour-and-a-half long movie about a cat destroying a house and cleaning it up. Number 4, the score. The score for this movie was done by David Newman. He's a cousin of Randy Newman, the guy that wrote this famous song.
You've got a friend in me.
David Newman was nominated for an Academy Award for his work on the movie Anastasia. The score of this movie is pretty good. The music fits the overall aesthetic and tone of the movie. The soundtrack as a whole utilizes a lot of strings and some mallet percussion like the xylophone, and there are some songs with some cool horn parts. I don't really have too much to say about this topic, other than the score is pretty good. I can't play you guys too many clips due to copyright, but I am gonna play you a quick snippet. Number 5, the cast and crew. I've already talked about some of the people that have worked on this movie. Some people know this and some people don't, but Michael Meyers was actually contractually obligated to do this movie because of a contract dispute with Universal Studios. He was originally supposed to star in a movie called Sprockets, based on his SNL character, Dieter. Mike Meyers asked for more time to write the script and Universal sued for breach of contract. Eventually they settled and Mike Meyers was contractually obligated to do a movie in place of Sprockets. Thus, The Cat in the Hat was born. But listen, Mike Meyers didn't phone it in. I've seen a lot of performances where actors just kind of phone it in for the paycheck. I give Mike Meyers credit, he was pretty good as the Cat in the Hat. Dakota Fanning and Spencer Breslin were good as Sally and Conrad, and Alec Baldwin was a fitting antagonist for the movie. I don't want this video to run too long, but if you've seen the movie and still think it's bad, then maybe it's just not for you. The point of this video isn't to change your mind, it's to show you why the movie might be better than you remember and hopefully give you an opportunity to enjoy the film as much as I do. I think the movie is extremely effective at what it's trying to be. Is it the best kids movie based on The Cat in the Hat? Probably not, but that isn't necessarily what it's trying to be. So with all that said, I'm happy to give The Cat in the Hat a 10 out of 10. And that about wraps up this video. Leave a comment down below giving your thoughts on what video you might want to see next. This has been the MeloTime Movie Hour. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe.